Museums. Institutions with a collection of artifacts and objects of cultural, historical, or scientific importance. What if they had a room where they had something of paranormal importance as well? Grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and don't wander off into the dark corners of this large empty building, because you might end up never walking out. A sensitive in a haunted museum. I recently got a job at a museum. By recent, I mean like 2 days ago. And I seriously forgot that I am super sensitive to energy. I'm not sure what I am. I don't consider myself a medium because I associate with that being able to walk up to someone and tell them that their grandmother is watching over them. I cannot do that. But I know when there is a spirit in the room with me, and sometimes, if I'm lucky enough, they will give me an image in my head of who they are or what they look like when they were alive. I have encountered many negative spirits and energy throughout my life. I eventually got so sick of the negativity, I closed my mind's door to the spirit world. Sometimes I would still sense things, but I would ignore it and it would leave. About a year ago, I lost my family dog. I was with her when she died. She pretty much died in my arms. I experienced a paranormal event with her death, which made my door open a bit. A few months ago, my boyfriend and I experienced some negative energy. Both of us experienced it. It was no one's fault. It was so strange because I seem to attract paranormal events and situations constantly. So a few days ago was my first day on the job at the museum, and I had a project I had to do outside. I sat on the ground with my back to the door that led to the inside. A few minutes into my work, the door opened. At first, I thought it was my boss, the museum director, but then I knew that I just had a feeling that whoever opened the door or whatever opened the door wasn't human. I turned around, and the door stood open like someone had opened it to look out. It wasn't the wind, because if it was, the door would have flown open and hit the table that it was next to. I wasn't scared, more seriously annoyed that the fact that my job that I have to go to every day is haunted. I got up and grabbed the door and closed it. I then said, "Not today, please. It's my first day. Can you all just give me a break, please?" Later that day, the director told me to walk around the museum and figure out where I would like to begin working. As I walked around each room, I tried to get a feeling of what energy was in each, and who was in each room. 3 of about 13 rooms felt light and happy to be in. Only 3 rooms I refused to go in because negative energy just radiated from them, especially the hospital room. As I walked around, I got a sense that they were children in the museum, and I even got an image of a little girl with dirty blonde hair. I later felt a man who was a sailor of some sort. I felt a police officer, a farmer, and a black man who I felt seemed taken with me. The strange thing is, these spirits I felt only stayed in the rooms that I felt them in. They never left. Later on, the director wanted to take me to the basement. I noticed that above the door to the basement it said, "Paranormal tours only." I was like, what the hell? I mentioned it to him and he said, "Oh yeah, by the way, this place is supposedly haunted, but I'm more of a Scully to your Mulder, if you will." That night, I decided to brush up on my history of the museum, and I found a ton of information on it. There was even a YouTube video explaining all the haunts and the ghosts. My feeling of who was in each room was pretty accurate. I guess I should get to my question and where I need help, huh? How do I prevent any scary, negative, paranormal ghost shit from happening to me? I draw it towards me, and I know that spirits can see that my energy field is all out of whack because of who I am. They are drawn towards it and try to scare me to obtain my energy or something. I don't know. I've tried ignoring things, and something will happen as soon as I try to pretend it isn't real. But if I acknowledge their presence, I just feel they'll loom over me and watch me and intensify their energy. I'm just trying to do my job and live my life as normal as possible. But with all this happening, it just seems so hard. Heritage Square Museum, California. I volunteer at a museum called Heritage Square in Pasadena, California. I have been volunteering there for 6 years. I have always known about Heritage Square. I live right up the street from it. I grew up with it and always loved it as a kid. I only wished I had signed up sooner. I never felt anything as a guest, I guess. I never really noticed. My mom would always feel stuff and would ask the volunteers about it. They were never allowed to talk about it, but they still told her off the record. It was not until I started to volunteer that I would feel and see things. It did not take long for me to get all these things. It was always one house, the Hale house. Maybe because I was in that house a lot. The little boy is a playful boy. Fun, too. Within the last 3 years, I started to notice stuff in other houses. I never had been scared by anything that would happen to me in the house. I always enjoyed seeing the spirits or feeling them around the museum. Every now and then, the museum invites ghost investigators to come. I was invited to 2 of them. I was thrilled by it. I knew it would be interesting to go and I would have fun and stuff would come up. The first one I went on was just the investigators and the museum staff. We got fun stuff. We were on our last house and we did get stuff. One of the investigators and I sat down and started talking to see if anything popped up. Nothing much. Before I knew it, I had the cold chill on the left side of my body. I told the investigator. He sat next to me and felt it too, and he smelled cologne. I did not smell it. I asked him if it was Old Spice. He told me he wasn't sure, but I knew who it was. I said, "Is this Oscar Levy Thomas?" And it was. And it was my grandfather. We chatted with him for some time. I then realized the weird feelings I was getting earlier in the house was him. The chat was fun. The second investigation was one that was open to the public. I was invited to help out with that one. I was only glad I did not sign up for it. I was asked if I was going to do it. I said I was broken, I can't afford it. The person said, "You don't have to pay, just volunteer," so I agreed to do it. The night of that public investigation, they explained all the rules to the guests for the museum and told them who we all were. During that, I kept getting a funny feeling that someone was watching us or staring at us or me. Now guess which it was? It was the building across from the gift shop, the Hastings house. It was on the porch. I kept looking to get a better look. There was no one there. But I know the ghost realized I knew it was there. It was thrilled I could see it. It was like, "Oh, you can see me? I am here." That's what I kept getting. "I am here, you can see me. I am here, you can see me." I took a photo, but don't know if anything came out of it because I haven't had a chance to look at it. The investigation finally started. We went to 2 of the houses and got some stuff but didn't get much. We went to the 3rd house, which was the Hastings house. Right before they started the tour, the investigators told me that they heard my nickname 3 times on the tour before us. We did our tour in that house. Some pulled out there, like a new toy they got for ghost hunting. They did not know how to use it quite yet. It was very cool, one of those things a spirit can talk into and you can hear what they say. It was speaking like crazy, then stopped. I asked if I could borrow it, and I walked around with it, and it spoke to me like crazy. Was it goofing off or was it serious? I tried to get it to talk more, but it would not speak much. It kept saying help and letters. The rest of the house we didn't get much, but heard new stories, ones I was glad to hear. At the end of the night, I found out which staff was on the tour before us in the Hastings house. I asked him about my name being called and he confirmed it. Ghosts seem to come to me at the museum now. I am scared of one of the areas of the museum that I had never been scared of. But since the first investigation, I am scared now. The Shaw House, the doctor's office. I still go in the dark and turn off all the lights, and they turn on by themselves. I like the thrill of it and being scared. That's why I volunteer to go into the house to turn off all the lights and lock things up or get things because I like to see ghosts. Am I not scared out of my wits yet? I have many more stories about the museum. Ghost of Gar Museum and Library. Longtime reader, first-time poster. Let me start off by saying, I've had plenty of paranormal experiences when I was younger. Nothing too major has happened since I was around 17. This happened not too long ago. Last week, March 19th. I was volunteering at a local Civil War museum and library, the Grand Army of the Republic's Civil War Museum and Library. It was a regular day. Only myself and another senior volunteer, A, were there. It was afternoon, maybe 2 to 3 p.m. A was responding to some emails, and I was reading a book from the library when I had heard a large crash. I knew for sure it came from inside the house. We're not in the best neighborhood, the Frankfurt section of Philadelphia. I had the security monitors turned on and looked at the parking lot. Our vehicles were fine. I told A I was looking outside, nothing in the parking lot. The front was fine. I looked over the fence into a vacant house next door. It had no back door, so I thought maybe a vagrant or someone was in there stealing some metal. I went back into the GAR. I told A I didn't see anything outside. I checked the library area, that was fine. I went up to a storage where we have old newspapers. Those shelves were fine. Nothing on the floor. I shut off all the lights there. Then I recalled someone was looking at the piano to see if he would be taking interest in it. I went up to our meeting room, and that room and the piano were fine still. I shut off all the lights there and used the bathroom. I thought since A and myself were the only ones there, I'd leave the toilet seat up. We have a unisex bathroom. No more sounds were heard. A little while later, while I had to use the bathroom again, as I was going through the library area, I noticed the light on the staircase that leads to the newspaper room was on. I have a good memory and always pay attention to detail. I know for sure I turned this off. I flicked the switch at the bottom a few times and it wouldn't go off. I climbed the steps and shut it off at the top. I came back down and flipped the bottom on and off again. This time, the bottom worked perfectly. I went up to the bathroom, and to my surprise, the toilet seat was down. I used the facilities and went back to the office. Then I noticed on a monitor, a drape appeared to be broken on the 3rd floor. The two of us went up, and the 3rd floor light was on. The drape was also up. I stood directly under the camera, and it looked different. We did some detective work, and after digging around for a while, we found about 5 or 6 pictures knocked over. A said, "This was probably what we heard. We were on the 1st floor office, nowhere near these pictures. This would have been nowhere near as loud falling. The glass on the pictures, even one that fell on an exposed radiator pipe, was fine. We put the pictures back and left for the day." Later at home, I was wondering if there was any reason that happened. I checked on the internet and didn't see anything significant. No major battles fought on this day or anything like that. We do have some weird items, including but not limited to a stuffed horse head and a stuffed donkey head, blood-stained sheets from President Lincoln's deathbed, and some stuff from Andersonville prison. Then, it dawned on me. Earlier that day, when reading, I had hummed a few notes of Dixie. This was my only experience there so far. I've only been volunteering there for about a month now. If happenings like this continue, it will be another reason for me to continue volunteering there. For those not familiar with the GAR, it also is known as the Ron House. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, Pennsylvania Register of Historic Places, and the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. It was built in the 1790s and spent over 100 years as a doctor's home and office. It was also a Grand Army of the Republic post for a while, before becoming a museum. A South New Jersey ghost hunting group was there a while ago and claimed they found 3 ghosts there. An angry ghost in the basement, a child who roams, and John Ron's first wife, Elizabeth, in the 3rd floor area. The ghost hunters have claimed John's wife Elizabeth has become angry during an EVP session when they asked if she was aware if her son and husband had served as Confederate doctors. I'll be up there in the 3rd floor area tomorrow, maintaining some firearms. I'll check those pictures again and post if there's anything significant on them. I'll also try to stay in camera view just in case.